Welcome, Juventini, back to the All Juve cast. And it's an earlier episode of Buonasera, Bianconeri, but we're coming at you live. We're going to get through quite a bit and see where this conversation takes us. But real quick, I'm lucky to have two great guests. Lewis made it today. That's awesome. He was supposed to be a guest last time. Was getting some sleep, but that's okay. Everybody needs their rest. And then, of course, Antonio over there in Scotland, man. How are you doing?
All good, man. All good.
That's awesome. Lewis, are you feeling refreshed and relaxed?
I slept all the way up until the podcast. It's the first time I've been up all day.
There we go.
For weeks now, I'm ready to go.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right. And real quick, huge thank you. I didn't realize that over the holidays I hit 4K on Twitter. So massive thank you to everybody. I got these two bad boys behind me, Chiesa kit, Delict kit, and I'm going to be giving them away. Might even give one of them away during this, so we'll see what happens. But real quick, how was the holidays, boys? I think we all kind of needed that after how we left off as Juventini with that Fiorentina debacle. But I hope your guys' holidays was great and gave us a time to kind of relax and hit the reset button. Let's, get into it right off the bat here. We had the Napoli decision, first of all, that led right into the Fiorentina debacle. So what's your guys' take on that whole Napoli situation? Do you think it affected Juve with the Fiorentina match? Who wants to kick us off here with this decision? Lewis?
Yeah, I'll start. Maybe just a little bit with the suspension for Adrian Rabiot, not being clear. They kind of just decided that morning, oh, wait, he might be suspended, and then he wasn't. I think there was at least a report that he was scheduled to start. I think maybe Weston McKennie was going to be given a break. Not that makes an excuse for the performance, but I think just a little bit on the tactical end, now you don't have a midfielder. So I think that in regard had a little bit of an effect. But I think the decision itself, I would have been fine with the decision if it came earlier. But the fact that you're going to overrule in the middle of a title race as close as this, to replay a game, 10 matches in, is kind of ridiculous. That's an appeal that should have happened and should have been decided very early. And now you're looking at a realistic thing where you were a team that was 4 points off, then goes to 7, and now 10 points or 10, 11 points off the table because of it. And we're not the only one affected. Napoli, same position. They went from being right there to further off because Serie A just decided to make a late decision. And if you look too, they've made teams play matches without, players there. There was Genoa played a game with 14 players. There's teams in Serie B playing with 14, 15 players. It kind of stinks because I get the feeling that Serie A wants the money from a Juve-Napoli game that would have been really, really good. And instead of sticking to their guns, they've gone back on a decision that's going to lead, as this pandemic progresses, it's going to make everything really worse.
Yeah. The precedent they set was crazy. And it was, obviously, FIGC had made the initial ruling. This was the Olympic Committee, CONI, making this decision. But you're absolutely right, Rabiot, that was crazy. So Juve basically sat him not knowing if it was going to hurt them at the end of the day, or if Udinese was going to be the match that he needs to take off for his suspension. This was handled so poorly. And it's an absolute joke. So now what do you do for these other teams? Lazio being one of them that's played many games with a long list of guys missing. They handled it absolutely terribly. Antonio, is there anything you want to add to that decision?
To be honest with you, I'm not surprised it's happened because these things in Italy happen all the time. Not even just at Serie A level, all the way down the leagues. And then obviously it's Juventus. If it was roles reversed, and it was maybe Juventus trying to win the appeal, it would never have happened. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think honestly, what's happened in the past with obviously Calciopoli or Farsopoli, we want to win games on a pitch So I want to play Napoli. I think they're there for the taking. I think we should be playing these teams on the park, beating these sides and leaving nothing, and obviously leaving all the rubbish for the guys to argue off the park to say. But it should have never have happened, in my opinion, because at the start of Serie A, all the presidents, all the people that had to sign all the documents to say if anything like this happens, that's the protocol. We abide by the rules, and that's it. And all of a sudden, it's happened to Napoli, De Laurentiis, and everything's changed. The rules are just changing again. So I think it's pretty poor show, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was, I gotta say, I'm kind of the same. Like, I wasn't surprised. I was upset because not for the fact of playing the match or anything like that, but just again the way it was handled. I think it was the original decision was the right decision because you just add another huge element again for these other clubs that are involved, and it just why do that? Why open up this big can of worms if you don't have to? It's crazy, but nonetheless,
one thing I'd like to add, from Serie A's perspective, you're hurting two teams that could perform very well in Europe for you by making that late decision. Like, I agree with Antonio. Like, the match should be played. But if you do this early and go through with the appeal back in September, what should have happened, and let's say you get like a game maybe over the holidays or one earlier, now you're just going to throw a game right in the middle of a month.
It was always going to happen, guys. It was always going to happen. There was never any doubt that this game would have been played. They were going to take it as far as they could, and that's just the easy option to play the game.
It's always just so frustrating still. Like, it's just such a smack in the face sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and Antonio hit the nail right on the head. If it was roles reversed and that had been Juve, and all of a sudden we win this appeal, it's the end of the world.
Oh my God.
But now we get, so the decision comes out. It's match day against Fiorentina. And then we all know what ends up happening, this Fiorentina debacle. And my God, what a way to finish 2020 from a playing standpoint. We go from a tough draw to one of our best performances against Parma into this one. A lot of Juventini feeling very, very confident. And then all of a sudden, bam, we're smacked right across the face in this Fiorentina match. And for me, the fact that the decision came out that day, I thought, here's an easy way for us to motivate ourselves. Turn it so if you're Pirlo, if you're this coach, you take this as a us against the world scenario, right? Everybody's out against us, and we're going to turn it around and go at them. I thought, here we go. This is fine. We could take this right to them. But man, here we go. And just an absolute pathetic showing. There's nothing else you can really say other than it was pathetic and it was embarrassing. And it was everything. It was the effort level. It was the focus. I mean, we get yet another red card. And again, all our red cards this season are in the opposition's end. This is the frustrating part, is we're doing this in areas of the pitch we don't need to. So the discipline, leadership, whatever you call it, we are suffering. And this match, I don't even know. Like, where do you start as far as what went wrong? There was so much, right? And this is the part that scared me, is after you get, again, the words of Buffon, Ronaldo, Bonucci speaking up, and I appreciate the words and what they're saying is right, but why do we have to keep saying the same things within a matter of weeks?
Yeah.
Right? So why is this happening? Why can we not just get the consistency up as far as focus and whatnot? Like, where do you guys think we are with this club, and why do we see such drastic changes in performance? Is it players? So you got a lot of Juventini saying it's the players. It's the caliber of guys we have. You got guys already on the Pirlo out train. You've got a group that just thinks it's leadership. I think it's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
It's literally a combination of everything. We are in a true full transition as a club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like, what are you guys' thoughts on as far as pinpoint? I don't think you can pinpoint. I think it's too many elements.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's a combination of all three, but I think it starts with some of the players, and I think that well, you can even start with management a little bit because there are really players that do not belong at Juventus and have been there for too long, and it's been like that since Cardiff, really, since Cardiff management. And I've harped back to this on this podcast a lot. After Cardiff, they asked Max Allegri, "Hey, how do we win the Champions League?" He said, "Give me 2 ball-dominant midfielders." And that summer, they did anything but that. And ever since then, each summer they leave like a little hole somewhere, or they don't sell the players they probably should, or they extend the wrong players. It's almost like it's always like almost a perfect summer, and then they do something crazy at the end of it, or they forget some part of the team. So I think that's part of it, where there's just been this seeded sort of thing. Also, too, when you go back 2 years ago and sacked Allegri, which was the right decision, I think all of us could agree that your replacement was Maurizio Sarri, who wanted to play a total 180 of football. He also had never won anything at the top level. The Europa League, that's above Juventus. He never won anything that Juventus wants to win. And then you go from Sarri, because that didn't work, to now Pirlo, who has never coached before. And I'm not a Pirlo out kind of guy. I actually thought until Fiorentina, like our performances were looking up just a little bit. Like you were starting to see a little of what they wanted to do, especially against Parma, Barcelona, even Atalanta, which was a bad result. Like the performance itself wasn't awful. So I think that the management started and they went like, we got Ronaldo and we're going to go right for the Champions League. And then they just did a total 180. And they've just been trying to like say, well, we got Ronaldo, we still want to get the treble. And it's like, well, clearly your moves are saying elsewhere. You're bringing in younger players. On the players' end, some of these guys, when you see players, right, when you think about like the past decade, Juventus for a while was getting better and better. And at some point, it just leveled off. And that to me is down to the players. You see some of Paulo Dybala the year after Cardiff was 21 goals, like 10 assists. He was scoring hat tricks like there's no tomorrow. He had a bad year. The first year with Ronaldo, he comes back. He has a good year. Now he's got another bad year. And there's a number of reasons for it. Like someone like Bernardeschi has always tanked. Bentancur hasn't taken the leap that maybe he was expected to take. Some of these players, I wonder what they're doing in the offseason. Like, where's your mentality? Like, you think the next year, like, I want to get better and better. Like, I want to compete for things. I want to be one of the best midfielders in the world. I want to be one of the best players in my position. And some of these players just don't have it. And I think that's a huge issue. I think, it's disturbing that after every one of these losses, only 3 players ever post about it. It's always the same ones. It's Buffon, Bonucci, Ronaldo, and occasionally Danilo. It's the same 4 every time. It's the 4th one's always a random one. It's absurd to me that like you get your ass kicked by Fiorentina and nobody says anything about it. It's the same 3 leaders every time. That to me is awful. The communication on the pitch, the first goal is a total miscommunication. Szczesny waits too long to come out. He hesitates. Nobody picks up the marker. I mean, that to me, you see it on the pitch all the time. I mean, you see how many times you see Ronaldo yelling at people to come forward, right? Or De Ligt yelling at defenders out of position. It's always the same 3 guys. Like it's frustrating to watch.
That first goal should have never even got to that point.
Yeah,
it should have never gotten to the point where Szczesny has to make that call because positionally, structurally, organizationally, it was so piss poor, and you had everybody flooded on the left side. McKennie is supposed to be another staple in the midfield.
Mm-hmm.
He abandoned his thing. He was right next to Ramsey, I believe it was. They were all in the same area. And I'm thinking, what the hell? One pass, and Ribery's got all day to pick that spot. And then the communication from Bonucci to De Ligt, they let, of all guys, Vlahovic go, which was piss poor.
Yeah.
It should have never even come down to the decision by Szczesny. He hesitated, but I mean, nobody would have expected such a shit touch. I mean, if you've watched Vlahovic enough, maybe you would have, but it should have never gotten to that point. And again, it's the organization, it's the structure. Like you watch them, and we still get in these modes where positionally we're so bad. But Antonio, what do you think about what Lewis was saying about the players and, even dating back to Cardiff? And, I think management also plays a part in this. But for where we are right now, are we wrong to expect a bit more? Do we just need to be patient? Like, what's going on here?
I think obviously what Lewis says he's spot on. Actually, I sent you a message, Alberto, with our final, our team that lined up in the final in Berlin. We had a midfield of Vidal, Pogba, Pirlo, and Marquisio. Now, in every single year, you're looking for progression, positive progression. Last year with Sarri, it stalled almost. In certain games this year, I can see what Pirlo's trying to do. Obviously, I don't want to be too critical of the guy. Obviously, the Fiorentina game, I'm just going to write that one off. To be honest, I think it was communication problems, discipline problems from Cuadrado. There was a lot. You can look at a lot of different elements and aspects of the game. However, I don't think personally we've progressed in terms of. We've all played football, as I say. I've been fortunate enough to play at a decent level, but I know a midfield wins you games 9 times out of 10. If your midfield gets a hold of the game and dominates it, it will win you games. When I look at the midfield just now, our strongest midfield, which is obviously up for debate, it's an open argument. Not one of those guys would get any of our previous midfields, especially in that kind of 2015, was it? 2016 Berlin. Yeah. So we haven't progressed in that kind of strongest part of the field. As I say, you can look at a lot of ways. I think with the Fiorentina game, I've not actually. I couldn't kind of bear to watch it again, to be honest with you. So I've looked at a couple of highlights just obviously before the podcast tonight, just in case we had to speak about it. It was down to finer details, communication, discipline. I think Bonucci's a far better player. If he needs to play, I think the guy shouldn't be playing. As I say, I'll tell you the reason why in a second. But I think if Bonucci has to play for whatever reason, where he's friends with Pirlo, or I've got no idea where the guy's playing. I think if he has to play, Buffon must start behind him because he can obviously organise it a bit better. I think if all the guys are fit, obviously Chiellini's a given, but obviously the guy's finished, unfortunately. But a fit Chiellini, a fit Matthias de Ligt, and a fit Demiral, it gives you what Pirlo's trying to do because the guys can defend high up the pitch and they're very good on one-on-one situations. With Bonucci, you can't do that. You can't leave the guy one-on-one. We've seen what Vlahovic done to him. Mm-hmm. Some with a bit of pace, and he's going to struggle all the time.
Well, the one that's really disappointing to me is Demiral, because I think that if you did because lately they've been like the back three is only when they're going forward, right? They're kind of defending in the 4-4-2. But when you get someone like Demiral in there for Bonucci, and you can have De Ligt kind of organize everything. He's a good enough passer with the ball to do that. The problem with Bonucci is you have to put Bonucci because none of those midfielders can create anything. That's why he keeps playing that, and no one else can stay fit in the back line. But I think that we can do that. I think that there will. If Demiral can come back fit after the break, we should be able to manage that. It's really frustrating because you're right, because he's better than that, and he should be doing better than that. I just don't understand. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just a leadership thing. Maybe it's a disorganizational thing. But at some point, you got to be like, hey, like we need to do this. And again, the management. You went into a season with 4 center backs. Like, what were you thinking? You never go into the season with 4 center backs. Like, you have to know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and here we go into, a question I've asked so much. And it's, are we just actually building squads that make sense, or are we just taking advantage of market opportunity? And a guy like Kulusevski, he's kind of right in that wheelhouse because it was a 40 million euro splash, and it was seen at the moment to be blocking Merda from picking him up. Good player, talented kid. But were we at the point at that time where we knew Sarri wasn't going to be around another season? and we didn't know who the replacement was going to be, are we still going to be playing a 4-3-3 in which Kulishevsky, you know what I mean? So you ask these questions that, are we building teams properly, or are we taking advantage of like market opportunities and not quite making sense of what we have? So that's kind of, what I start looking at when you look at Juve, and this is not just this season. This dates back to exactly what you guys were talking about. When you look at where we left off, when we start losing guys like Vidal, Marquisio, Pirlo, Pogba, and you're replacing them with Hernandez, Storaro,
Lemina.
You bring what's that?
Mario Lemina. Oh wow.
Yeah, Lemina. You bring in Pjanic, but Pjanic was an attacking midfielder, and what did we do? We moved him back again. So
Arthur's the same way.
So here we are. We're usually picking guys out. We're mixing them up as far as where they are, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but something that's continuously been happening. And I don't know with this club sometimes. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then I think there's a lot to be said for what Luca Toni actually came out and said. And it's, we don't have enough big players. And he doesn't like the team's mentality. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I don't think he's wrong. Big players on the team. It's not a ton of them as far as mentality goes, these leader types. Is that hurting us? 100%. 100% it is. And I said in the middle of the park, who's the general? Who's the commander? Like, I have no idea. Guys, these guys are look at the gallery over here. Luca Natala, Eric Esternio Gibbs. Someone's mic is making like popping noises. I don't know.
Yeah, I can hear it too.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah.
Maybe Lewis is just so excited he's breathing heavy, guys. It's just crackling over the mic. Take it easy. But I don't know, guys. This leadership thing, how do we correct it? Like, you can't. I mean, you're bringing in guys, but the problem is the leaders that are on the team are underperforming, in my personal opinion. Bonucci, one of them. Chiellini can't stay fit. Buffon, 10 minutes. Is that a good shout? There's a lot of shouts for Buffon to start getting a bunch more minutes.
Yeah.
He's playing well enough to. I mean, you gotta wonder, the team seems to look more organized when he's there, when he's not.
Yeah.
But I just it's crazy to me. I mean, I think this has been coming for a while. I also think the club doesn't want to admit that they're kind of in a rebuild. They're trying to go younger, but they're trying to also win at the same time, which doesn't help. I mean, you've won the league 9 straight times. And I think that's part of it. When you go back to leadership, you think about Lyon, like some of the players' reactions after losing Lyon. Like, I saw today on Twitter that there was a great story about Chiellini after a draw with Milan when they first got promoted, and they drew 0-0, and he was like excited about, because Milan had a good team, and Del Piero was just furious. He was just like picking stuff, and he was angry, right? And I would look at the team and I go, who's doing that? Maybe Ronaldo, maybe Buffon looks miserable on the bench, but where are these other guys? Like, who are these people that have that? And maybe it starts at the top. Maybe it starts with the coaching. I mean, maybe Sarri was too lenient. Maybe Pirlo isn't strong enough. I don't know, but there's something wrong here that's been festering for a while. And it's really frustrating to watch. And it's tough because, we go into a game, it's 1-1. A lot of fans will be like, yep, that's a draw. Like, it's like, unless Ronaldo gets a penalty, or we pull it out, like, fans are just like, yep, that's a draw. Like, I can't remember a time when Juventus wasn't like that in the last decade. It's just like, it's really weird.
Can I add something? Sorry, guys. I know, obviously, I hate to interrupt. See, my dad actually brought up a really good point. Do you not think we're ready for a European-style mentality of a manager now? Instead of always picking Italian managers. Do you not think the way we are set up just now as a club, as a football team on the pitch, we're set up for a good, like a prime European manager?
Yeah, I mean, there's a good argument for that because the club says that they want to play this
Just a mentality, Jeff.
But even like the style they want to play, like they don't want to play the defensive. They want to play a more modern style football. There is an Italian manager that really does that. So you could be right. I mean, I personally think it shouldn't matter what the nationality is. If there's a good coach out there, you should go grab him. You know?
I agree. As far as nationality of the manager, I think it shouldn't really matter. I think it's just more, again, the philosophy, what the team's trying to accomplish, what's happening. This is another question. Did Pirlo quickly get the job because of the financials?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Because of where we sat financially, and he was the only guy available. I mean, I don't know. And here we go again with that falls in the same line as picking up players that don't necessarily make sense, but we can either afford or get a deal done, right? And let's take a look at our midfield. For sure. So Matt Montesano also writes in, we need a leader in the midfield, a modern-day Vieira. I was kind of touching on that before. Is like, if you look at our midfield right now, and this is why I have to laugh at people that don't want Paul Pogba. We have to be serious with ourselves. That guy walks into our midfield easily, without a doubt. Like, who's stopping Paul Pogba from playing on this team?
None of them.
Not Rabiot, not Ramsey, not Bentancur, not Arthur. Different roles for Arthur Pogba, but none of those guys are stopping Paul Pogba. Are any of those guys stopping Aouar from playing? Probably not. Are any of those guys stopping Locatelli from playing?
Yeah.
Probably not.
I remind people weekly about this. I got laughed at when they said, hey, we should go get Barella because he walked into our midfield. And in 2 years, he's been better than any midfielder we've had.
I was on the Barella thing as well, and I said, look, Juve should make a solid push. At the time, he was exactly what our midfield needed. We were struggling in the middle, and you snooze, you lose. For whatever reason, it was all the reports were saying that they backed off. Juve backed off, so
yeah,
is what it is. But we don't have that guy in the midfield. So when you look at the spine of the team, at the back, I think you have a future with Malik, Demiral. In the midfield, who's the general? Who's the guy? And Luca brings up a great question. Is Paul the leader we need? I think that's where he probably falls short. I don't see him being that guy, but he's got a skill set that we don't have amongst our guys right now, which is the range of passing, the vision. Vision is not something you just pick up as a player. Like, some guys have it, some guys don't. And there's different variations of levels of vision, but you don't just teach a guy how to spot these passes, all these runs and everything. Like, you just either have it or you don't, really. But he's got a skill set that we need. Aouar's got that skill set. Locatelli definitely has the passing ability that we lack out of there, which is those sniffing out those attacking opportunities from relatively nothing, really. All these guys are good shouts. DePaul also has it, and he's highly remarked as negative amongst Juventini for a possible transfer. Like, they just don't want DePaul. He's got a lot of what we need too in terms of those abilities. Ramsey's the closest we have out of our midfield. If you look at our midfield across the board, McKennie's kind of well-rounded. He's that workhorse. He's that ball winner. That's great. Arthur's like a possession guy, a holding guy, but he's not anything. He's lacked severely in anything forward attacking and passing vertically. Like, it's just not there. Rabiot, solid box to box, but he's like playing Jane. This is what you get. This is all you're going to get. It's good, and it's steady, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
He's never going to be like, whoa, boom, here he is. Like, this is what you're going to get when he's at his best, right here. Bentancur is hit and miss, but he doesn't give you that final third play that we're lacking, and that we need. So I think there's a set of skill sets missing, but I think there's also that leader, that commander in the middle. We need somebody in there. Is Paul going to be the leader? I can't see it.
Yeah.
What do you think as far as that's really where the spine breaks down, is the middle of the park. Because you have it up top in Ronaldo, and even Morata from so far being back. He's shown a bit of being that spine, right? And at the back, Bonucci seems to only have it when Buffon's back there, but the Lick's got it. But then it falls apart in the middle. It's not consistent the whole way through. So what do you guys think about the middle of the park? What do you guys think about some of these possible targets that we talked about? Awar, Locatelli, Paul, Pogba. Who wants to kick us off?
Go ahead, Antonio.
Sorry, I was just going to add, actually being over in the UK, you might want to do this when I tell you this one, but there's a lot of talk of Mesut Ozil potentially going for a 6-month loan spell, dry loan till the end of the season. I think, and personally, I think if that's going to happen, I mean, we're just going backwards even further, to be honest with you. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, as I say, but there is a lot of talk over it here in the UK of Ozil coming to the end of the end of the season. But I think, as I said to you before, the most important position on a pitch is a midfield, and it's not been addressed in the last maybe 3, 4, 5 years now. Bentancur, McKennie and Rabiot, I mean, the guys, they're basically all the same kind of player in different positions. One's left-footed and the other two are right-footed, to say, but they give you the same kind of work ethic. They give you the same results almost. The only different one we've got is Artur, but obviously he suffered a bad injury. But as I say, you're spot on, Alberto. Going forward, the guy never ever plays a forward pass, which, to be honest with you, I'm incredibly disappointed with, because nobody was more excited than me when we signed Arthur. I thought he was going to be that missing link, but I don't know if it's the number 5 on his jersey, but sometimes he just looks like a carbon copy to Miralem Pjanic, as I say. So we've not progressed in the midfield for me. DePaul, Locatelli, all these kind of players, are they any different to the guys we've got? Are they of quality? We're looking for that step up. I know it's going to be hard, obviously, with the COVID mercado. The guys you want to bring in is Pogba, Aouar from Lyon. As I say, although I've not really seen a lot of them, you don't know if he's going to be just kind of a one-hit wonder. But for me, the guy I want to see back is Paul Pogba, and I would. You're going to hate me here, Alberto, but I would gladly see Dybala go the other way to bring him in, because he is what we are missing in midfield. Dybala can be replaced one way or another, because he's not given us much this season, but we miss somebody like Pogba, and we have always missed somebody like Pogba since he left.
Yeah, the other thing with someone like Pogba, you're right, like, you would lack leadership with him, but if you look at a club like AC Milan, they literally have just taken a player like Zlatan's personality and put players that have that same kind of mentality. You either buy in or you don't, and they've kind of just run with it, and it's been a brilliant strategy for them. So you have someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, you have players like Matthias de Ligt that buy into that. Start looking for players that buy into that type of, mentality. I think that's what you need to do, and I think that Paul Pogba clearly is the best of that crop. Like, if you can get Paul Pogba, that's where you would go. But I think if you could get, Locatelli, that's a step up, because that's a player who can play in front of the defense and can play a ball through. But in the short term, I would say if you could get DePaul in January, that helps a little bit. But the larger issues, I don't think that issue gets solved till the summer, because with the COVID market, you're not going to be able to drop 50 mil on Paul Pogba,
Yeah. Look, Paul Pogba, here's the thing. I don't think you can get rid of Dybala even if we were going to in January, because you still need to replace. need to replace that position as well. So especially if you move him in January, you don't need one forward, you need two, because they still need backups, right? So if it were up for a big swap move, at that time, I think it's way too hard for Juve. It's impossible for them to fill it properly because we see the big hole right now when we're trying to take Morata out. There's lack of options there. A lot of these other guys are wingers. Matt Montesano writes in too many run-of-the-mill utility players. Rabiot, Bentancur, Ramsey, all average capability. I mean, can't really disagree. I mean, Ramsey, I think, has the capability to outshine Bentancur, Rabiot for sure. He can be world class. The problem is, when the hell are you going to get him?
Yeah.
It's too scarce, right? Ivan Gill writing in, Benta needs to sit beside Dybala. Maybe they can fetch some water for the goat in Solio. No Pogba for me. I'll take the Paul instead, or Locatelli. Yeah, these are all good shouts. I mean, I'd be happy, honestly, if in January Juve can bring in one of Dybala or Locatelli, I'd be happy. Who can we spare if we have to move some of these guys to make a move? Here's another thing. This is very, very interesting because right now at this current moment in time, I think it's very, very hard to pick guys outside of Sami Khedira that you could say, yeah, let's get rid of like right now. It's very, very hard. Even a guy like Dybala who seems to be on the outs, I just brought up the reason why it's very hard to get rid of him in January. But they say these deals were possible. Even a guy like Bernardeschi, since the last Azzurri break, has been playing very good. He's been good, but he's getting less minutes now with us. And I'm thinking it's probably because he started to get on this upswing, and probably they want to move him in January. But does that leave us a little bit lacking too? Because you have Kulusevski that can't lock in a spot. And Bernardeschi is doing pretty good. And Bernardeschi's pretty versatile as far as where he can go. I don't know. It's tough, right? But I don't know. In January, if you had to get rid of a guy, who are the guys you think we could spare in January? And then we'll move to the offseason too, because this was a question that came in from Luis, and he said, "Who can we spare on the roster currently?"
It's tough because I also can't. I can't figure out who's that clear player that they could just sell, right? As Antonio mentioned, you could sell Dybala in the swap, but where is that market? He hasn't played very well. I mean, none of these guys have played very well. So now you're trying to get the value out of them. You're not going to get it. I think I would sell Bernardeschi. That's going to make Eric mad, but I think, I just think it's time. I mean, he's played well. We've seen that before, but the coach seems not to have a space for him. And I think for the benefit of the player and for the club, it frees up some space. Let him go. Let him go perform more out. I don't see them turning over Kulusevski after 6 months. It just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. And Eric here. So when the aforementioned players play poorly, what is to blame then? Al, we've had plenty of talk, but I stand firm. Our issues are internal. So essentially saying that obviously it's system over everything, and we could take any of these players, add them in, and we will still get the same struggles. Again, I don't disagree with that by any means. I still just believe we lack a certain set of skills and abilities in the middle of the park. Do I think we don't have internal issues? Of course not. Of course our system needs to be locked in. But let's look at this. Again, what we were talking about before. Bentancur, what are you going to get at him in the attacking area? Not much. He's like another holder now because he's not really a ball winner or defensive guy. McKennie's our only real guy that does that and is an energy guy. Rabiot's your box-to-box, physical. Nothing out of the top. Artur just becomes a holder, a very, very good holder, and an escape from the press, possession guy. So I think you still have a set of traits. Does our system need time to work? Yeah, absolutely. But what are we going to do? You're still left with one option of truly a true attacking player out of the middle of the park, which is Ramsey, who you can't bank on. How many times since Ramsey's played with us can you say he's been world class?
That's a handful. If
I'd say maybe not even that many, man. Like maybe twice or 3 times. System has a lot to do with it, but you cannot turn players into something they're not. This club has tried to create another Pirlo out of Pjanic. Never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Pjanic is Pjanic. Everybody's their own guy. And I said for a long time, while we had the Regista reign there and Allegri wanted that, you can't turn players into something they're not. Yeah, does our system need time to work? 100%. Do we need to work on it and figure it out? Yes. Your midfield needs to be a unit. And a lot of the time, if you're going out there with the same type of player, it's going to not be a complete unit and it's going to break down. Somebody in that combination is going to be asked to do something that they're not capable of.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, whatever system you play or whatnot, you need somebody that's creative in your midfield. We lack the creativity there big time.
Yeah.
Our system needs work, I agree, but we do need a set of skills in there, I think, for sure. And definitely a leader in the middle of the park.
I mean, our system obviously needs fine-tuning. And I thought in the last month or so, like some of it, when simplified, when you meant to simplify it, and it's literally it's a back three when you're going forward, and it's a 4-4-2 when you're defending. It's not crazy. They're not playing random wingers or right wing back, or it's just very fine-tuned and very simple. It looked a lot better. There's still parts that they got to iron out. I think part of that was finally having your best 11 or getting that best 11 in Pirlo's mind. But to your point, I mean, there's players that are playing positions. Like Juan Cuadrado is not a right back. He hasn't been a right back for 2 years now. Hang
on a sec though. Ivan Grove. I don't necessarily agree because there are players who are having a very good season and Cuadrado. So here's the thing. Yeah, you can spot guys that are having good seasons. I mean, yeah, of course. But would you say that you would say we're confident in the midfield we have and that we don't need somebody that can change the game from the middle of the park? We don't have a game changer in the middle of the park.
I'd also like to point out again, Danilo, he plays as a right back. He doesn't play as like a right wing back. Like in that formation, not the back four, he's not moving at all. Danilo's seldom have played together lately.
Well, this can go both ways because Danilo's been great, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But you have guys that are struggling. Kulusevski can't find a spot in here.
Yeah.
You're gonna have other guys that I don't know. Bentancur struggling. I don't know. I can't see it. I think it's a combination of everything, like we talked about earlier. You have young players coming into the mix, new players coming into the mix, completely new system, no preseason. Pirlo was Mr. Tinker Train for how long? It's a lot of factors. Antonio, what did you want to touch on?
Yeah, just going back to what both you guys were saying about Aaron Ramsey. Personally, I've been a massive fan of Aaron Ramsey when he played with Arsenal. But it's not a surprise. Before we signed him, he only played a handful of games. The guy is notorious for having problems with staying healthy. So when he came into Juventus, I thought he was just going to be that guy who maybe give you, 15, 20 games a season. He'd come off the bench or play every now and again. But now we are heavily dependent on Ramsey in this new system because he's that perfect link from midfield to attacking. He gives you obviously... He throws himself into space. He's got that eye for obviously a creative pass. But you're finding yourself, which blows my mind, after all the recruitment, all the money was spent on players, that we're dependent on a guy who has got previous years of history of just constant injury problems. He was always injured at Arsenal, always, and then we brought him in for crazy money. But now we're dependent highly on him, which is it's ludicrous if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, again, it's market opportunity sometimes, and not necessarily what might be the best or make the most sense for us as a team, which is tough. Ivan Groh, nope. I believe it stems from the back. You clearly see the team plays differently when GG is in net. Here's the thing. We did see us look organized at the back under GG, and he definitely commands that. He commands the team like definitely nothing you're going to get out of Szczesny. But the thing is, that's like saying when fans were saying, "Oh, we're playing great. We need Ronaldo in there all the time." We've played shit with Ronaldo in the lineup as well. It's always going to be this thing. I think we're much more organized under Buffon. But the games we played with Buffon, we also had the three-man middle in a combination that worked because each player in that middle did something different. And when you start bunching up the same guys, Bentancur and Rabiot, can't share the pitch.
Yeah, they're the same player.
Kills us. Kills us.
Same.
Kulusevski and Dybala can't share the pitch. Can't be on the same side whatsoever. You throw Cuadrado into that mix, and you got three guys in the same damn spot. And it's terrible. Well, it's about the mix. It's about the combination. Pirlo's system is so dependent on what personnel he uses. If he starts having the same guys in there, his system breaks right down.
They have sort of the same problem Antonio Conte has. They're very predictable. They have to go out wide to create anything because there isn't a person in the middle that can slip anyone through.
Yeah,
you go out wide. You have to cross the ball into the box.
I don't know, man. But these rumors and targets, and look at this, Abdul right now. News about getting Zaza back. Sounds promising. So we got links with Llorente. Milik still talked about Zaza. Guys. Giroud's out there. For a forward, let's be serious. Like Llorente, he can't. In my opinion, no. Mandzukic is another name. In my opinion, he's got what we need, but as far as the mentality thing goes, but I don't see him fitting the attributes we would need at that position because we need to think about replacing Morata. The guy we need to bring in has to be close to that style of player.
Yeah. I think you should try and get Olivier Giroud. I think that is Giroud still scores a lot of goals, and it doesn't even have to be for a long term. I mean,
he's been a sub for how long?
Yeah, you're not asking him to come in and bang 20 goals in for you. You're asking him just to be able to give you something off the bench.
Yeah.
I think the only problem you've got there was Giroud and Llorente, and I would even go as far as saying Milik. What you notice a lot with Morata, he attacks his space. He's a willing runner. He's always running into channels. It gives you that 40, 50 yards of progression. These guys, Giroud, Llorente, Milik, Mandzukic, all play with them back to goal. So it doesn't get us any higher up the park. It kind of stalls us again. So whoever we bring in needs to accept that they're going to be a backup to Morata. He's our main number 9. But he also really needs to fit the characteristics and the skill set that Morata brings you during a 90-minute game, as I say. So it's going to be interesting to see if it happens, because I think it does need to happen, but we're desperately short. But it's going to be interesting to see who it's going to be, and if it's going to be for a long term, obviously, or if it's just going to be until the end of the season. But we need to be clever here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there could be some. I don't know who off the top of my head, but there could be some like long-term young striker that's just sitting there that they're waiting to jump on. I think in terms of financials, it could be tough to see who they could get. That's why I mentioned someone like Giroud or Llorente or even like Mandzukic. Just for 6 months.
Great players.
Like throw a pitch to Giroud and be like, hey, 6 months, you get to the Euro, and we'll see what happens next year, you know?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But out of all these guys, say you had to pick one out of these possible targets, okay? Mandzukic, Milic, Giroud. I guess you throw Zaza in the mix. But
that was Tuto Sport, to be fair. So
who's your pick out of those guys?
Sorry, to be fair as well, Luis, you're right. Although Sky Sports in the UK are heavily tipping Ozil to go to Juventus, they got their source from Tuto Sport, so I'll say no more.
I'm going to say right now, Mesut Ozil, no.
There's serious talk. There is serious talk. I'm
like,
that's enough.
Here's the thing: is like you're chasing the same thing you did with Ramsey, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
A guy that can't be world class, but has shown it when.
I don't know for it. I really don't. I think it's just usual people talking.
But out of those forwards, who's your pick? For me, it's Giroud. I would go with
Giroud.
Just to add in there. But let's keep it moving. Dream signing. This question was brought in by Luis there. Dream signing of under 25 players. So one under 25 player you can add your dream signing.
That's really easy. Really easy in my opinion.
For me, it's well. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Haaland, Borussia Dortmund. Yeah.
Haaland. Yeah, I would say Haaland.
Yeah. You just start over, build around him.
Yeah, man.
It's his agent Raiola. Sorry, it's his agent Mino Raiola.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe stay away from that then, to be honest with you, because I don't
For whatever reason, Raiola seems to like us.
Funny about the whole Bernardeschi thing, he's just recently changed to Raiola, so I think there's a good concrete possibility that he'll try and move him.
Yeah. Haaland, who else? Mbappe?
Yeah, he'd be one. And I mean, I am president of the Locatelli Youth fan club.
So. I like that, man.
Yeah, so that'd be nice.
Do you know one guy I really like? I've been very impressed, Alberto. Actually, I think I messaged you a couple of weeks back to say this guy reminds me of Didier Drogba. And Zola, I think he plays with, is it Spal? The guy he plays with, striker. He's so good. It really is. He's going to be one for the watching. I think he's going to be the new Drogba. And I'm sorry, I don't know if it's Spal or I'm trying to remember who the guy he plays with. He scored against us actually. But I think it was last season or this season he scored against us.
Oh, I have to look back.
Not the guy from Crotone, right?
It might be. It's he's a striker, but he's very, very imposing, and I think he's young. Okay. I think he's definitely under 25. I know
we've got a thing for signing guys that score these, so you could probably see it.
In the spirit of Italians, not that he's at the level of some of the other ones, but the young defender from Hellas Verona, Lovato, is really.
Yeah.
He might solve some problems in the back.
Yeah. I going back, I love how Luis is sticking with the Locatelli thing. I could see him lined up on Juve store online, waiting with the kit, just have it on standby in his browser history, so that the second he signs, it's just like boom.
Listen, I've been a fan of the kid since he scored the rocket against us. I was like, whoa, that's a good player. And I don't know what happened with Milan, but you know.
Yeah, he scored this goal. He was hyped up, and he just fell off the face of the earth, goes to Sassuolo, and all of a sudden it's just like boom, kid's balling again. Yeah. So let's see. Question also from Luis: best player so far this season. So everybody joining us live in the comment section, who do you think our best player so far this season is? And let's kick it off with Antonio so far. What do you think? Who's our best player so far?
Obviously, Ronaldo's going to always get all the headlines because the goals he scores. It's a tough one so far. I would have to say, and I'll tell you the reason why in a second, but I would always say De Ligt. I think to come back from a shoulder injury, it must be playing in his mind every time he goes up, because he is a physical defender. He's always looking for that contact. But the guy, he's just such a leader. He's impressive. So for me, night and day De Ligt, but again, it's just an opinion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mine is Alvaro Morata. I think that he, at least in the attacking third, just like the work rate that he does, like having that real number 9 there. He's been deadly, and just I was a fan of the signing, but I don't think he'd be this good. I mean, he's almost matched Ronaldo in goals. But yeah, I mean, any of those three between De Ligt, Morata, and Ronaldo, I think those are the clear 3 best players on any given night.
Yeah, for me, I had a tough time thinking about this one because my initial straight out of the gate was Alvaro Morata, because nobody else has been able to fulfill what he does when he's off the pitch, and just his impact from the get-go. But he also has had some performances where it was lacking. De Ligt, he was huge when he came back, and he has been huge. Probably lean towards De Ligt. We got some shouts from people listening, though. Quadrado from Lorenzo. Oh, McKenny, Luca Natale, McKenny. Abdul's got Danilo.
Oh, good
shout as far as being steady, like all season so far. Eric's got most influential, has to be Morata. Best player, De Ligt or McKenny. And then Mahmoud Sampa, De Ligt, Morata, Quadrado. Cristiano excluded. So, yeah, that's kind of a promising thing, is that it's not just one or two names, right? You've got multiple guys. So we do have some guys that are doing quite well and it's quite positive, which is good. We just need to find some homes for Kulishevsky. Chiesa, I think, needs to start seeing a little more time. And is there a shout to start seeing Chiesa ahead of Quadrado on the right a little more?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, I think so too, because I think that it stabilizes you, because you could put Danilo as the right center back, and you can. Yeah. He almost plays. You put the 4-4-2 of Sandro on one side, and Chiesa can do all that work on the right. He's been one of our more promising signings in recent years. I really like what I've seen from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of even team making the shout, doing their best 11s, whatnot, and a lot of them have Chiesa on that right ahead of Quadrado, and you could definitely make that shout, and I'd be perfectly fine with it. But Lorenzo, yeah, please stop playing the church on the left. The odd thing is he does okay on the left, but I think it's night and day when you see him on the right, where he's comfortable and he played the majority at Fiorentina on the right. He's right at home, man. So yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to see if he can start getting some minutes there. But again, you got a rookie coach in Pirlo, and it'll be interesting to see if he starts getting very comfortable with guys that maybe he shouldn't be necessarily. So we'll see what ends up happening. But Sandro's going to have to start getting his minutes over on the left, and I think you want Chiesa in there. Mm-hmm. So naturally, Sandro one side, Chiesa on the other, and I think that complements things very, very well. But we'll see what ends up happening. January. This is it. This is the month where it needs to be, in the words of Metallica, kill them all. Kill them all mentality. Us against the world. We have left ourselves with little room for error. Okay. There's 7 matches in January. Kicks off with Udinese, 3 days later, AC Milan. Then I think another one 4 days later against Genoa. Then I believe it's 3 days to Merda. It's packed. It's absolutely packed. We got Sassuolo after Milan. Then Genoa, then Merda. I'm pretty sure. I'm spitballing off the top of my head here, but this January is packed. We're 10 points off pace with Milan, but we've got a game in hand. I think out of the Milan, Sassuolo, Merda, and we're going to have a Napoli replay in there, either January or early February. But out of those, you can only afford to drop points in one of those, in my personal opinion.
Agreed.
If we stand a chance. January will be do or die for us. It'll make or break the season. Do we have what it takes to go through there this January and maybe only drop points in one of those matches amongst rivals, not including these other outside matches with Genoa, Udinese, and stuff like that? Do you come out of the gate with your best 11 and let them go again 3 days later against Milan? Or can we even afford that? Like, what do you guys think? This is tricky. This is extremely tricky. So whichever one of you wants to take the lead on this one, who do you start against Udinese? How do you start off the new season in January? The new year, I should say.
I think you got to start the best team you can. You can't afford to go into Udinese and drop points right before Milan. I think you got to get the result. You basically have to get the result against both Milan teams, and you have to win all the games that you should. Like, you could drop points to maybe Sassuolo, maybe Napoli, but you can't afford to drop any points outside of those two. I think that maybe we don't have to play like all 11 of the guys, but at least 9 and 10 of them, especially to iron out some of like the teams. You should be able to beat Udinese right off the break,
Yeah. Antonio, do you agree? Best guns right out of the gate, even with Milan 3 days after?
Yeah, I have to agree. The way I look at football is you never change a winning side. The Barcelona team that amazed us all with Xavi and Iniesta, all those guys, these guys played 60, 70 games. They always played the same 11 religiously, and it was up to the guys on the bench to take the possession off of them. I think Pirlo tinkers far too much. Our strongest team at the moment, arguably, is the team that beat Barcelona in the Nou Camp, our first 11. Obviously, Chiesa never played. I don't think Chiesa started that game, so you can argue maybe him starting over Cuadrado or Sandro, depending on what side. But yeah, I agree with Luis. You need to, right out the gate, strongest team, and if that team wins, you start that team again.
Yeah. So, and Luca Natale puts in start same 11 for Udinese and Milan, then maybe rotate for Genoa. Matt Montesano, do we even know our best 11? So here we go. Let's go like this. Everybody joining us, put your starting 11 as you would say our best 11 in the comments here, and let's go across here. So let's say you're starting the lineup for Udinese. It's our best 11. Go for it. And if you want, I'll even kick us off. My lineup would be, and I guess the big question mark is, does Chiellini and Demiral qualify? Are they back in the fold by that time? Because that makes a difference for me, to be honest. Because let's say Chiellini and Demiral are fit. My starting 11 would be Gigi Buffon in goal, De Ligt in the heart of the back three, Chiellini on the left side, Danilo on the right side, Chiesa as right wing back, Sandro as left wing back. Across the middle, Ramsey, Arthur, and McKennie. And then up top, Morata and Ronaldo. And that's how I would line them up. That's what I would do. And I want to hear your guys' best 11.
I would go Buffon, Danilo, De Ligt, Bonucci, Sandro, your midfield, Chiesa on the right, and Morata and Ronaldo. And the reason I kept the back line the same, Demiral and Chiellini cannot stay fit. And I think that there's a real issue with our team where someone pulls a hammy 15 minutes in and we have to change the tactic. And it just all goes to hell. So I think that you got to rely on players that are going to stay fit. And that's what I would do personally.
That's fair. That's fair. Antonio, your best 11.
I would definitely be Gigi in goals. It's incredible to see how this guy's just always going to be up for debate. But Gigi in goals, Danilo right centre back, De Ligt centre back in the middle. Again, if Chiellini's fit, I would obviously he needs to start, but I think he might struggle. I would personally go with Danilo, De Ligt, Alexandro, Chiesa. Quadrado's suspended, isn't he, in this one?
Yeah, Quadrado may be out for this one as well as Milan. Because he'll serve one for the red, and I think he got an extra match ban.
Yeah, I see that changes things. So I think I would definitely go the midfield that I think both of you guys picked. And obviously Morata and Ronaldo up front. I'm struggling to find how Arthur's doing. I don't know if he's available, because I know he's been struggling with that knock against Atalanta. I've been looking online to see how he's been, but I don't even know if he's going to be in the squad. Is he okay?
Well, we'll have to see. That's another one of the question marks, right? Is Artur, Chiellini, and Demiral are all question marks. So we'll see. I just did my best 11 based on who's fit too, right? So
on Lucas' point in the comments, I think Paulo Dybala is a major player for this month. He loves to score against the Milan teams. Like, if there's ever a time for Dybala to show up,
he's got to get her going. My concern is that it's just not going to happen. I don't think we're going to see it, because I think it's the mess of the situation is taking over, and that's a terrible dark cloud to have over this team right now, especially during the circumstances. And I blame all parties involved. To be honest. Luka, I do agree with him. Chiellini will be vital. Dybala will be vital too. Even if we bring in another forward, we're going to need these guys firing. Same for Gigi, Luca says. Yeah, a lot of shout for Gigi getting 1 minute. Abdullah's best 11: Tech, Danilo, De Ligt, Bonucci, Sandro, Kulu, McKennie, Arthur, Ramsey, Morata, Ronaldo. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Kulusevski making the best 11. I'm not so sure yet, because I don't think we've found a home.
Devil's advocate on why don't they try him as a striker? In the Sampdoria game, he showed a little promise there.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, like I mean, if you can't find a fourth forward in January, like, why not try it? You know, even.
I think he's played with Sweden also as a second forward, as actually a striker. I think, and as I say, against Sampdoria, it's arguably probably his best game is playing as a second striker. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. They do have to find a home for him. That's for sure. That's 100% sure. Abdullah writes in, no, it's only announced a 1-match ban for Quadrado, so be available for Milan by the looks of it, officially anyways. Luca agrees with you on the ball shelter. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is going to be one hell of a month in January. Now, my question, we're going to leave off on this, like, say it doesn't pan out the way we want it, say all of a sudden, things go sideways in January for Juve. Pirlo. Does Pirlo stay regardless of the results this season? Or do you think we're setting a dangerous standard? What are your thoughts here with Pirlo?
I think it depends on how the season ends. I think if let's say Juventus come out of this month, they beat both the Milan teams, they make a run for the league, and they lose, but they played good football. I think that there's stuff to come out of that, because clearly they're trying to play a certain way. But if you're looking at a team that barely makes the top 4, then you got to get rid of them. That's just unacceptable. I mean, I think that part of the issue is I think that Pirlo has a style that Juventus would like to play. The question is whether they can do it or not. And clearly, no matter who the managers, the last 2 they've been trying to play this modern European football. So I don't know who else is out there on the market, assuming Pochettino takes the PSG job. Like, who do you replace him with immediately? I think it just depends on how it fits. If it's like Sarri last year, where Juventus didn't take the lead, they just regressed and they played the typical Allegri, park the bus and come there, and ugly win the league, fine. I mean, it's going to be a race to the finish no matter what. If you start to show, like, hey, we have a style, we have something to build on, and we finish second, it's tough to just snap the manager right after that. And you're starting to become like Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think it's totally, like, in my opinion, going to depend on what's happening with the team. If we're playing well, like, even if we look at the Fiorentina thing, if we played a strong match and we didn't get a result, but there was a lot of positives out of it, I could take it. But the fact that there was so many negatives and it was just so piss poor, it pisses me off. It shouldn't be Juve. You brought up the story that came out with Del Piero.
Yeah.
Drawing Milan at that point. Chiellini said, he was pissed. He was kicking shit around the place, and then after the showers, he called everybody in. He said, "Look, I'm pissed off that you guys are happy with this. A draw for Juventus is a loss."
Yeah.
This is, how a lot of our draws this season have felt, and a lot of fans have said. So these are like losses. These are points dropped we shouldn't be dropping, and there's nothing to be really happy about. And in terms of that, so do we set the precedence? If we fall out of a Champions League spot, do you keep Pirlo? The risk is, do we end up even worse if the play's good? Because when Pirlo gets it right, when the team's clicking, it actually looks better than it has in years.
Yeah.
The only problem is that we can't seem to maintain that level. And it's trying to figure out why we can't maintain that level. Is it the leadership? Is it mentality? Is it the coaching? There's times where Pirlo needs to take blame too, because there's games where he's not making changes when he needs to, and he's reacting instead of being proactive. And Atalanta, the draw 1-1 was a prime example. They enter Papu Gomez into the match. We had an opportunity to put the squeeze on him, and we didn't. Papu Gomez enters the match, and we don't change anything.
Yeah.
And he starts to take over, and there's still no reaction out of Pirlo. So he's got to step it up and whatnot. My fear is, if we're playing decent enough, like, where's the measuring stick? Because if we start to become this coaching carousel, how in the hell are we going to get any kind of continuity? Are we going to get another manager in where now we've kind of molded this team into this setup or whatnot, and then he comes in? Do we now waste another season because he doesn't have the right guys for his particular season, like system or setup? Like, I don't want to become one of these coaching carousels, right? So it's dangerous.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was trying to say. Was like, you have to. I said, like, you don't want to keep. There's going to be a third manager in a row we stacked. Like, that would be a huge thing. It was like Juventus are a disaster and they barely get into the top four. Then you have to sack your manager. That's unacceptable for a team that has players like Ronaldo. You can't have that happen. But this is a team that plays better in the second half of the year. Pirlo finds the best 11, and you lose by like a couple points. Like, let's say you go in second, you say, okay, we have ground to move for next year. Now, obviously, it's a disappointment not to win the league, but it's all about that groundwork. Like, is it going to be there for next year or not? That's why Sarri got sacked. Hey, the groundwork was not there. There's a lot of issues. Like, we regressed. Okay, so then if Pirlo can progress this team, get it into the title race back to where it should be, and they lose to a more experienced Inter Milan, God forbid, or AC Milan, at least next year you have a starting point.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, those guys are going to be full press. Merida's going to be full press now for that thing. We got nothing else going on. But Antonio, what do you think? If Juve is playing good, but we do, let enough points slide that we're just outside of the Champions League place, does Pirlo keep his spot or no?
I mean, I said back at the start of the show, you're looking for progression. I think also you're looking for an identity. You look at all the top teams in Europe just now. Your Liverpool's, Bayern Munich. You didn't even look tough. You can see what they're trying to do. You can see if one guy's playing, obviously in the Monday, and another guy's coming in on the Wednesday. They're doing the same job. They just have to fit into a system. If You're spot on, Alberto. I think Pirlo gets it right. I like what I see. I can see, obviously, the team's trying to find identity. Everyone's clicking into place. If that's still the case after January, after this heavy congestion of fixtures, then we'll have a better idea. But I definitely don't want to get into this habit of sacking a manager lose, as I say, because we're not going to. We're just going to be, as Lewis says, we're going to be like a Chelsea or a Real Madrid back a few years ago, So you don't want to get into this habit.
Absolutely. I agree. Matthew Matsanto writes in, thoughts on Pirlo being a 3-5-2 system coach like his mentor, Conte. The attackers are screaming 4-2-3-1. Cristiano, Dybala, Kulu behind Morata.
No, can't.
So
you can't play a 4-2-3-1 with the midfielders that you have.
Yeah.
I just don't see the defense being able to be stable enough if we have that, because Morata and Cristiano already will not give you the defensive. And then all of a sudden, Dybala and Kulu also will not. I think we're going to be left hanging out to dry. I think offensively, that's like a FIFA dream right now of how you would line them up, but I don't see it.
If we played with that formation just now, a 4-2-3-1, in a real game against a team like Bayern Munich, they would absolutely destroy us.
Yeah.
Destroy us. I mean, it's okay playing, as you say, FIFA.
And that's why I say, like, I'm actually okay with Pirlo's system. And it makes sense because it's not this true locked-in 3-5-2 that we saw before, because it shifts into like a 4-4-2 defensive base, which is actually pretty solid structurally, given the personnel, and sometimes Gigi being at the back. But it shifts, and the biggest key for him is the 3 central midfielders. The second he tries to go a little slightly more attacking and puts that trequartista in, almost going like 3-4-1-2, it puts us in this 2-man pivot that gets chewed up. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see in my mind happening in a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
I'm for his system. And it would be too late, would it not, now to try a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1? You're almost all committed now, right?
People complain. I see this all the time on Twitter. People complain about the system. Like, the system at the start of the year was kind of like a super team, but he since evolved it and simplified it into a 3-5-2, a 4-4-2, and you're starting to see a little bit of pieces of what it could be. Take Fiorentina as an outlier there. It was a really good month up until the Fiorentina game. You ran all over the park against Barcelona. The Parma game, even the Atalanta game, obviously the draw hurts, but they looked like they could have put 3 or 4 away if Ronaldo and Morata had a good day. I think that the system, I don't think, is the issue. Like you said, it's just ironing out, what's that midfield 3? Like, which one gives you the most balance? Some of the transitions, like, on the counter-attack, we still look disorganized. I think that comes down to some of the transitions, maybe some of the positioning. Those are things that I think that we could fix and, build upon. And now you're right. There are times this year where I'm like, wow, this looks really, really good. It's just keeping that consistency. Like, what is it that is making us look really, really good? What isn't working,
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's just we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening. Real quick, for everyone joining us live, you see the kits behind me, because we're going to be wrapping up pretty quick. Delict or Chiesa? Simply type in the comments either Delict or Chiesa, whichever one. But yeah, Stephen Martin writes in, you can't keep chopping and changing managers. The club is trying to change the style and image. It will take time, and we will have problems. We'll find our feet. That's the biggest thing. Will the team be patient enough with Pirlo to find our feet? Will we find our feet this season? Who really knows? But let's just say, do we have confidence in? Do you see a different Juve in Champions League as opposed to Serie A?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that we will. I think that Juventus in games where they like better opponent, what's more open, I think that really suits the way that they try to play. And I think that there's a little bit of a slap in the face. Hey, everyone's kind of writing us off. You have a lot of time to test here. I think that there's still enough drive in this team to turn it on. The question is if it's too late or not.
Yeah. I think it's down to concentration. And I mean, I'll give you an example. Bonucci and Cuadrado and Bentancur, when they're playing the likes of all due respect, Benevento, the concentration levels are just not there. But then when they play Barcelona, obviously they concentrate. Not even Barcelona. As soon as they hear the Champions League music before the kickoff, it's like a mindset, as you say, it's Jekyll and Hyde. But the Juve don't have competition in the league. We're our worst enemy. If we turn up in January and say, do you know what, it's time to we're going to win this league. It's that flippy switch. They can do it, but again, they're also very. I don't know. Sometimes they really are. You don't know what team's going to turn up. More so in the league than the Champions League.
Absolutely. I think Antonio really hits it on the noggin. There are games where it starts and Bentancur is misplacing passes and Bonucci, is out of position. You're like, oh, well, they're just not focused today. Like, this is going to be a rough one, in the first 10, 15 minutes. So I think that, right now, if you're Pirlo, I hope that you back out of them when it comes back. That during this holiday season, they're paying attention to all the people saying you're not going to win the league.
Yeah, the thing, and that's the thing is, I think this team has been battling themselves for quite some time, and I think it's a problem we've kind of brought upon ourselves because when these guys have been missing the mark, so to speak, there's nobody that's been there that can be like, okay, now I'm stepping in. Yeah. I think Pirlo is going to have a tough time separating that amongst the team too, because I don't see him benching Bonucci. But should he be benched? I think so. Based on that last performance, like he needs to be, riding the pine and being like, dude, that's unacceptable. We have standards here. I don't care if we're playing Benevento or if we're playing Merda. It's the same all the time. And it's just unacceptable. You hurt the team. You hurt everybody. You're sitting out. Cuadrado, absolutely inexcusable red card offense against Fiorentina 17 minutes into that match. I'm sorry. Now we got the youngster, Chiesa, who's running, gunning for your spot. He's going to get it. I want you to earn it back. He's got to do that. You can't be these guys friends. And I just don't know if we're going to do that because we always go safe and what we think is safe and the experience and these other guys, right? And I don't know, but to the contrary, you have a team that definitely lacks leadership. So you punish a guy for doing this or being subpar, but then you're also hurting the team because you need the experience at times, right? It's a catch-22. It's a very, very hard decision to make, but I think Pirlo needs to start becoming more of the coach and less of the friend and start calling the shots. Like Buffon over Szczesny is making sense for more minutes. Should he be the starter? I don't think you can bank on a 42-year-old goalkeeper to be your starter, but he should definitely be in the mix in order to pick Szczesny up and say, hey, man, he's starting to chomp at the bit here. He's at your heels. I need you up here. There's nothing wrong in doing that, right?
I don't see Pirlo being that kind of manager. I totally appreciate and I agree with what you're saying, but I think if Pirlo doesn't adopt this change himself and his mentality and the way he treats his guys, now I'll say it here, we will fail this season because because Bonucci, I've said it for a long time now. I don't know why he was brought back at the start. Bonucci, as a football player, is very good. So much so that Guardiola's a massive fan. As a defender, he's very average.
Yeah.
The problem you've got there is if he's playing in front of Szczesny, for God's sake, there's no fans in a stadium, and I've never heard Szczesny speak once.
Yeah.
So I mean, Buffon plays, and you have to turn the TV down because he's so loud. That is massive, and I think Bonucci thrives off that.
That's a really good point because the Bonucci that returned from AC Milan, not the day from the one that left. Just in general, he got older. He's slower. Mentally, he's not there. He doesn't have Chiellini to cover for him. It's just getting Demiral and Chiellini to replace him there. I think this could be also something that I don't think that we take into account. That a lot of these guys have a lot of miles on their legs from post-lockdown last year. I mean, Bonucci, De Ligt, Bentancur played every game last year. I mean, had no offseason. Dybala had an injury right at the end of last year, no offseason. And you wonder about some of these guys, like the fact that you can't be like, okay, we're going to Bonucci for a game because he's not playing well, and maybe he just needs a rest. Like, just sit him for a game or two, and just be like, "Hey, we're giving you a rest." Let him kind of come into terms with him. You can't even do that at the moment. It's terrible.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Steve Martin agrees with it. When Buffon is on, you can hear him shouting out, keeping the backline focus switch on. We need more guys to step up and shout. Yeah, I think we're missing it at a couple levels from the back to the front. But will we get there? I think so. Will it be too little, too late? We'll have to find out. But I want everybody commenting too. Will Juve win the 10th straight? Do we still have it? Do you think we can do this?
Okay. Maybe this is me just being optimistic, but I'll never count us out. You win the league 9 years in a row, it's yours to lose. You played awful, but if you beat Milan and you beat Merda, especially Merda, that goes a long, long way. Be like, hey, we're still here. That's good for your team. That's bad for their morale. And you come out of January with only one game dropped, you're right back in it. So I think there's definitely a chance.
Lorenzo, see, Antonio, are we winning the 10th straight?
I actually sent you a message last week after the Fiorentina game. I'm one of the most passionate Juve fans I know. My dad and I have always fall out over games. Me, in one word, I don't think we'll do it this year. I really don't. I think we've lost too much ground. There's no consistency. We can't go 3 games we can't go 3 consecutive wins. Sorry, it's just too much Jekyll and Hyde, and I don't see that changing soon. I really don't.
Yeah, so even Abdullah here, he doesn't like to be pessimistic, but he doesn't see a Scudetto winner in the field this year. Lorenzo says T. Jorge says, I don't think so. Me? I say I could still see it. I could still see it if we can capture the good that we've seen just a little more. But the nice thing is, it's still in our hands because we have to play all those clubs twice. So the thing is, we kick off January, right? And just pinch me if I need to wake up at some point during this next little bit here. But we kick off against Udinese. Say we come out gunning, let's go. We start smashing them, get some rest in, and then hit Milan. Milan is the statement game. And it's a benefit to us that it's the second one in January, because if we come out there and we pop them right in the mouth and we take that 3 points, they suffer 3. We still have a match in hand. Say maybe something happens in one of Milan's other matches, drop a couple points there. It ain't so bad. And then all of a sudden, I've said it even last year when we were struggling. I still want these guys, because I don't give a shit what they do against Spal, against Benevento, against all this. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I want to see them come and take it from us. And I want to see them come and beat us. Do I think we're at our best? No, but we weren't at our best last year. And the fact that we're only 10 points out, 7 depending on what happens with that game in hand, and we haven't been our best, if we get it right and we get some of these statement matches up, Milan and Sassuolo especially, I think we start raising the level of doubt in these other cups. And we just need to keep the pressure on them. I still think Milan will have a drop-off. I still think Milan will have a drop. Merda is just waiting for a Conte implosion, and that could just happen at one bad game. All it takes for a Conte team is one set of points where they have in the bag that they end up dropping, and the guy will go off the rails. It's already happening with Ericsson and all this. They're gonna implode. I think it's too early for me to say no. Let's put it that way.
Well, I also think it works again and for us that the league is more competitive this year than it ever has been before. I think that like Roma look really promising. Napoli have a really competitive side. Even Lazio not at their best, even competitive games, and that's not counting the Sassuolo of the Hellas Veronas. This is going to be a very difficult year for everyone involved to win, especially with the pandemic, a bunched up schedule. Some of these teams are 1-2 injuries away from dropping off the cuff. So I think that right now there's still a little time left. They have to have such urgency in January.
Yeah, we'll find out, and we're gonna find out very soon. And maybe I'm just being really optimistic because the holidays are just wrapping up. I might still have a lot of booze in me. Did some drinking, enjoying some time with our family. Or maybe I'm still just rocking off the holidays. I don't know. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having the two of you on for the recap and kind of looking forward to the next month ahead. We'll be doing more lives this season. I'm going to ramp things up a bit, especially on YouTube. We're going to start doing lives before match days. Get everybody's thoughts, opinions on. I'll be bringing in more guests so that because I've had a lot of people reach out. I can't get everybody in on podcasts. The schedule's already full for games. So let's do these lives pre-match and get even more Juventini involved and keep building the community. So thanks again. Thanks everybody who joined. I asked you guys a question to type in Delict or Chiesa. Abdullah, you've got yourself a Chiesa kit. Oh, over here. Coming your way, man. Reach out to me on Twitter. That bad boy's yours. Thank you again, everybody, for the support. The Delict one, don't worry, it'll be up for grabs over Twitter. So thanks again, guys. Get ready. It's us against the world, January. It's all to play for. Ride or die, right? Fino alla fine. Let's see what happens. But thanks again, and we'll be back at you with some more Buonasera Bianconeri episodes. Until next time, ciao. Forza Juve, fino alla fine.
Ciao.